Good afternoon. If you've been to the Maine School Management Association website recently, you'll notice that the results of the 2016-2017 MEA testing are in. So the proficiency base. So you can see right over here, they released the 2016-17 Maine Educational Assessment results. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a quick look at these results as it pertains to our district. And as over the summer, you notice we've been kind of quiet over here, but we are back in ready to work as some of these results are noteworthy. One of the things people ask me as I went through the policy review last year and reviewing some of the financials, we have seen some positive movement within our operations, which I want to make sure that we recognize that as far as some of the work that's been done by some of the school board members, as well as some of the new additions to our administration. But if you look at the results overall, you'll see across the slide here, and I have it both in data and in a graph, pretty concerning results as far as our district. We are centered here in Hamden, Maine, one of the best communities to live in the state, if not the best, with a super high college attendance rate. But look at these results. So if you look at 2015-16, overall in English language arts, 61.02% of our students tested out as proficient, so 4 out of 10 did not. And then we did see a slight increase with the district at 61.43. When you look at our math, we went down a little bit. So less than 1 out of 2 of our students in our district tested out as proficient. And when you look at 16-17, that went down a little bit, but still less than 1 out of 2 were rated proficient in math from their scores. If you look at the science district, we were at 3 out of 4 were scoring as proficient, but we did see a dip in 16-17 to 69.74. So almost 1 out of 3 were not proficient. So if you look at it very simply on a scale of 0 to 100, and we'll talk about that 100 as goal number 1 of our strategic plan in 2013 was a guaranteed curriculum to match the educational needs of our students. So we see that over here to the right, you see just a little bit of an increase, just a little bit of a decrease in math, and then a drop off when it comes to science, but still performing. Science is still our strongest subject. So when you look at the individual schools, and we'll come up here to the actual data, you will see that pretty concerning. We had some improvement within some of our schools, but then look at this right here, Hamden Academy. Went from 74.48% proficiency in ELA in 15-16 down to 64.29% in 16-17. And if you recall, during the budget meetings, we had heard about the cut for an ELA teacher at the high school. There was great concern in our community. Those were voiced at a number of different meetings and actually added money into the warrants to allow for the hiring of the the ELA teacher at Hamden Academy. But apparently the drop of 1,000 basis points did not necessitate adding or keeping the same number of teachers that we had the year before. So it'll be interesting to see how that cut impacts going forward. The other one that you want to look at as you come down here, you see Hamden Academy in math, quite a drop, over 1,200 basis points. So that's very interesting and also concerning. And then when you look at Hamden Academy in the sciences, again, a drop. So you look at our multi-million-dollar school that was built a few years ago, and we continue to pay roughly just a little bit under $4 million a year for. It looks like our performance is having some opportunity. So when you look over here, you will see the graphs. We did see some improvement, and I do want to point those out. So when you look at Leroy Smith School, they're still far from 100%, but you look at this improvement here, almost the same improvement as you saw in the drop-off with Hamden Academy, the math results. So it looks like we do have good improvement there at Smith School. And once again, Smith School also improving in their ELA results. So great job there also. When you look at science, it looks like it was a tough year all around for everybody in science. So we did see drops with each one of those as well. So when you look overall, we do have opportunities for improvement here. And then as you go down through, I know with myself, I downloaded these right from the district website, but the ELA really seems to be concerning. But also when you look at our district performance when it comes to math, if you've been paying attention over the past few years, we seem to continue to change our math, what they call the curriculum, but it looks like the results are not really where they need to be. So really, really interesting to see the results that we have here. As you can see, the changes that we made don't really seem to be taking hold, and we'll see how that goes as we go forward. Now, so that's just a high-level view of the performance. Now let's look back at the strategic plan from 2013 and 16. So just a rough copy here, and you look at student learning objective, learning and outcomes. This is goal number 1 in 2013. And you look at Vision A, Goal A, develop and implement rigorous proficiency-based curricula that are guaranteed, viable, and measurable. Well, if you look at this, this should have been in place no later than 2014. It would have been ongoing. And as you see down here, the different action items that we have here, you see who the responsible parties are for this. A lot of the administrative team, which would be, the superintendent would be leading that effort. And then, of course, your curriculum coordinator or curriculum director would be there as well. And then, of course, the teachers working with resources that they're provided. So when you look at some of the opportunities that we have here, as the strategic plan moved on, as you can tell, we are our results from 16-17 don't quite match what this was goal number 1. So when you think about the top reason to have a school district and the top objective of a school district to make sure that we are providing our students with the education that they need and deserve, it looks like we may have fallen just a bit short there, just my opinion. Now, once again, when we look at this, let's look at our balanced financing. So the couple of items from last year, if you remember correctly, at the end of last year, we had pointed out that we continue to underspend to get to over $1.5 million unassigned fund balance, pretty much money sitting in a savings account. Not sure what it's going to be used for, but it continues. During the budget meetings, you probably remember that we were talking about the 3% threshold, of which we were in violation of, but there is a window of opportunity to bring that back into line. Not to rehash all those conversations, but you'll see here on paper that the unaudited amount of 1.597, so it's grown from the 1.49 unaudited amount last year. And then with the audit, it was up to 1.521 million. And so looking at here, we're looking at somewhere around $1.6 million unassigned fund balance. So when you think about how are we spending our money to support our students through the resources and teachers that we have. So we underspent last year by $540,000. So coming into this year, really looking at the teachers that were eliminated from the academy. I guess it's something to be debated as far as who's actually, what our goals and objectives are as a school unit. So once again, as you look at here, and of course the audited numbers aren't out yet. They have to be out by December the 1st. And when you look here, this is what we had previously. And then once again, for this performance, remember the superintendent and curriculum director were named in that goal number 1. And just to look at how we spend our money. We often hear that we spend less per student, and you can probably see from the results. One of the things that you really, which would be neat to look at, is if you took out the Hamden students. So I am a Hamden resident. I look at the performance of the students that live here in this house, my daughters, and many of those folks that I interact with on a daily basis, the performance of your students. If we were to pull Hamden out of these results, what would those results then look like, even though we pay the lion's share? So when you look at this, our MSAD or RSU 22, spends with this data that we had, and this is a year or so old, 151% of other districts that have these 3 positions, remember that we have far fewer students. We only have 71% of those students. So when you think about where are we allocating our funds? Now, when I did a policy review last year, some people asked me, now, why would you review policies? Well, the policies that we have really talk about items that are going to lead into the next few posts that we're going to put out. School board recognizes responsibility, set goals for efficient operation of the school unit, and discharging the responsibility. School board will strive to ensure that the resources of the unit are directed toward meeting the educational needs of each student. Well, if 1 out of 2 of our students are lacking proficiency in math, and we see that our ELA scores are dropping at Hamden Academy, and we're cutting teachers, I'm not really sure if we're meeting that first line, but once again, just my opinion, but we'd love to hear the opinions of others out there. Goals are established and evaluated annually through a variety of means, including but not limited to the strategic plan, superintendent's evaluation, board self-evaluation, work in standing committees. So when we think about the goals that are set forward, which are part of this process, and we'll review that in another post, I think it'll be pretty eye-opening for many members in our public to see just how rigorous or non-rigorous that is. So when you look here, you look at the basic instruction program. The instructional program shall implement through a written curriculum aligned with current required state standards, designed to provide uniformity of content within and across grade levels, and priority should be given to the learning that serves as a foundation for further educational development in 8 content areas, English, language, arts being listed first, mathematics and science, the results that we just went over. I would, in my opinion, English language is very fundamental to all of the others. And once again, the reduction of resources put up against the performance that we have leaves some questions to be asked there. And then also when you think about community involvement decision making, it was heard loud and clear by the members of the community that attended many of the budget meetings that we were were willing to pay for, and were adamant about keeping these positions in, but yet once again they were cut. And when you look at the increase in the unassigned fund balance, thinking about the education of our students being the number one goal and priority of our school board and our school administrators. At least for one, myself, as you probably know if you've joined this blog before, have some questions about where the priorities really lie when it comes to this. Now, once again, this information is all this is last year's results and some of the financial from last year. So those new additions that seem to be making the difference, appreciate your work. But as we continue to move forward with the work that we have. So upcoming on the post that you'll see coming up in the near future, we will be taking a deeper dive into those, the strategic plan. We'll be taking a deeper dive into the goals. We'll be continuing our work through the financial management of our district. As well, we'll take a deep dive into the performance of our leader of the district, our educational leader, our superintendent, as far as performance against those metrics of which should be measured against. So appreciate you joining. A little bit shorter post this year, and we'll continue to do our work. Please reach out with any questions. And once again, thank you for your involvement as a community, as this is going to be a very exciting couple of years as we continue to drive improvement throughout our district to continue to improve all of the educational opportunities for our students. So thank you very much, and I hope you join us again.